part 2 of my story. How many of you can remember what happened in part 1? It's okay if you don't. Here's a little recap. So in part 1, we were with a girl called Lisa. Now Lisa, she found this iPad. And she thinks this iPad belongs to her favorite author, who's doing this show. So then Lisa goes through the iPad. She opens the latest file there. And she starts reading through the notes. And she realizes this is the last book in the entire series. So now Lisa's thinking, oh no, what have I done? And then Lisa's dad enters the room and takes Lisa to his office. And that's just where we left off. So now in Lisa's dad's office, her dad says to Lisa, a small story. The story went like this. So one time the Babylonian king had invaded Judah, and he ordered that some of the wisest young men in the kingdom should be taken back to Babylon as captives to work for the king. Now amongst all these bright, smart men was 4 young boys. Was Daniel and his 3 other friends. Immediately, imagine how scared they would have been, having their country taken over. They have to go all the way to this brand new place in captivity. But then they went inside. And since they were now working for the king, they got to eat from the king's table. Just imagine how lovely the food will be for a king. All the different varieties. But now, Daniel and his friends were there and they were thinking, oh, we can't eat this. Because God had told everyone that they shouldn't eat this type of food. There was a bunch of different stuff there, and it all was prepared so nicely and displayed so well. How would you feel if, say, your parents say, don't eat this, you've already had one, and then you go somewhere else, and then there's one right there. Say it could be a cookie or chocolate or ice cream or anything. How tempted you will be to try, and you'll just want that, won't you? To go and just eat it. Then Daniel and his friends asked the king if they could go and eat just vegetables and water for the next 40 days as a bit of a test. The king thought, that's strange. Why wouldn't they want any of this food? But, okay, I guess if that's what you want. And then 40 days had passed. And now, Daniel and his friends were so much better looking, so much more healthy, so much stronger than all of the other people who were brought to Babylon. And they were also healthy and strong because they resisted the temptation. They didn't go and just eat it just because they weren't in Judah anymore. They still remembered what God said and listened to Him. And now God sort of rewarded them for listening to Him. We need to remember that we need to be like this. We need to remember to always have self-control whenever we feel tempted. And whenever we get tempted, try and think of something where you might have seen someone else overcome temptation. Or maybe you might have done it before. Once I'm sure if you have ever done that before, you've overcome the temptation to go get something, you'll be so happy afterwards, won't you? Because you managed to resist the urge to go do something. So now Lisa's dad had finished telling Lisa this story. So now they both thought, okay, now we need to return this iPad. So they went down to the author and Lisa said to her, here's your iPad. I kind of hacked into it and I found out, and I just read the latest book in there. I didn't realize you had already written the last one. Then the author said, oh, so you know how everything ends in the series? Then Lisa said, oh, no, I don't know everything, but I did spoil a really big part for me. So here's your iPad back. But then the author said, oh, well, thank you, but that's not my iPad. Lisa was so happy. She didn't ruin the entire series for herself. She could actually enjoy it now. So then she realized, actually, someone had forgot their tablet behind from the previous show. So after some looking around, they sent the iPad back to whoever was there last. And now Lisa was so happy. And everyone was so happy for Lisa, thinking she didn't need to feel sad anymore. She didn't ruin everything. So now we need to remember this, okay? Remember through your week that you should always have as much self-control as possible. You should always try and overcome temptation. Now, let's offer a small prayer. Dear Jesus, thank you for helping us to finish this story, and please help us to remember to have self-control as much as possible, and to always try and resist the temptation or urge to do something. Please help us to remember this as we go through our week. In Jesus' precious name I pray, Amen. I hope you enjoyed listening to part 2 of this story, and I'll see you next week. Bye!
You are watching Revival TV, ministering minds through media.